Hi guys. So this one is going to be about adding fractions. Now the big huge thing that you need to remember if you're going to be adding fractions is there must be common denominators. That means the bottom number has to be the same, okay? The denominator is the bottom number. It has to be the same. So I guess in case we're forgetting which is which, if I have 4/5, that is called the numerator. And that is called the denominator. If you're adding and subtracting, the denominator, the bottom number, has to be the same. So if I have something like this, 1/6 plus, I guess 5/6. I was trying to come up with a way where that wasn't going to happen. I can, in fact, add those because they are the same. They're the same, so I just bring the denominator over, and I do 1 plus 5, which is 6. And then 6 divided by 6 gives us 1. So the steps for adding a fraction is, number 1, find a common denominator. After you have done that, so first find a common denominator. After you have done that, after you have a common denominator, you add the numerators. And then you put your answer over the denominator. Note, at no point did I say to add the denominator. Do not do that. You just put the denominator down, okay? You just move it over with the problems, and it stays there the whole time. So if I have something like this, if I have 3/4 plus 1/2, let's say I have that. I look at this and I go, oh, you know what? 4 and 2 aren't the same, but I can make that 2 into a 4. So I make the 2 into a 4. What did I do to the 2 to make it a 4? I multiplied it by, it's always going to be multiplied. What did I multiply it by? I multiplied it by 2. 2 times 2 is equal to 4. Whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. 1 times 2 is equal to 2. So the 3/4, I'm just going to move over because I didn't have to do anything to it. It already has the 4 on the bottom. Add my numerators. 3 plus 2 is 5. Put it over the denominator. That's a 4. Okay? At this particular point, I'm just going to leave it there like that. We're going to mess around with this in just a second, but for right now, I'm just leaving it there like that. Next one, if I have something like 1/5 plus 2/3. 5 and a 3, those denominators are not the same. Not only that, but they have absolutely nothing in common with each other. So there's a trick that you can use for when your denominators have no business being next to each other. you multiply them by each other. So 5 times 3 and 3 times 5. And that will always give you a common denominator. Always. 5 times 3 is 15. And 3 times 5 is also 15. See how I did that? Whatever you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. So I multiplied the 5 by 3, I have to multiply the 1 by 3. 1 times 3 is 3. Down here, I multiplied the 3 by 5, so I have to multiply the 2 by 5. 2 times 5 is 10. Add the numerators. 3 plus 10 is 13 over the denominator, which is 15. See, perfectly fine. It ends up working out great. Now, that's with just plain fractions. Just the fractions by themselves. We're not worrying about any of the other stuff. But what do we do when the other stuff shows up? When I end up with a mixed number. So if I have a mixed number, this is what ends up happening. Number 1, still common denominators. Number 2, still add numerators. Number 3, still place over denominators. But this time we have a number 4. Number 4 is add whole numbers. And number 5, so we add the whole numbers, but then we have to do one other step, which we didn't talk about on the other side. I said we'll get to it in just a second. We're getting to it right now. Number 5 is simplify. Now, simplifying can end up being done a couple of different ways. We'll look at all of them that we can do. Okay, so I have 3 1/3 plus 2 1/4. Let's go with that. 3 1/3 plus 2 1/4. Okay, so first off, common denominators. I don't have common denominators. 3 and 4 have nothing to do with each other, so I'm going to multiply them by each other. 3 times 4 and 4 times 3. That'll work out just fine. What is 3 times 4? 12. And 4 times 3 is also 12. You see? So we end up with a 12 as our denominator both times. Whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. I multiplied by 4 here, so I need to multiply by 4 here. 1 times 4 is 4. On the bottom, I multiplied by 3 here, so I have to multiply by 3 here. 1 times 3 is 3. Add my numerators. 4 plus 3 is 7. Place over the denominator, which is 12. Add the whole numbers. 3 plus 2 is 5. So I end up with 5 7/12 being the number that we have. Let's try another one. Let's do, if I have 2 3/4 plus 1 1/2. I can look at the 2. I do not have common denominators. The 4 and the 2 have different denominators. But I can change the 2 into a 4. I multiply the 2 by what to make a 4? 2 times 2 makes it 4. Whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. So 1 times 2 is 2. I'm just going to bring over the 3/4. Add our numerators. 3 plus 2, 5. Place over the denominators. Add the whole numbers. 2 plus 1, 3. And now I have 3 and 5/4. We can't actually do that one. We need to simplify it. And the way that I do that is I make my actual division problem. So 4 goes into 5 how many times? 4 goes into 5 one time, because 1 times 4 is 4. 5 minus 4 is 1, 1/4. So then I need to make a little teeny tiny problem over here where I have 3 plus 1 and 1/4. Okay? The 1/4 just comes down, but then I do my 3 plus 1, which ends up being a 4. So 4 and 1/4. Do you see what I did there? I had to take out, because this is an improper fraction, so I had to make it into a mixed number, and then I had to add that mixed number onto the whole number that I have already gotten. Okay? So I guess down here, I'm going to put kind of an addendum. If your answer has an improper fraction, make it a mixed number and add it to the whole number. Okay, so if your answer has an improper fraction, make it a mixed number and add it to your whole number. Okay, let me do another one. Okay, so let's do this one. 3 2/5 plus 1 6/7. The 5 and the 7 are different. They're not common denominators. They have nothing in common, so we're going to multiply them by each other. 5 times 7, 7 times 5. 5 times 7 is 35, and 7 times 5 is 35. Whatever you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. I multiplied the 5 by 7, so I have to multiply the 2 by 7. 2 times 7 is 14. I multiplied the 7 by 5, so I'm going to multiply the 6 by 5. 6 times 5 is 30. Add my numerators. 14 plus 30 gives me 44 over 35. Add my whole number. Place over the denominators. Sorry, that's 35. Add my whole numbers. 3 plus 1 is 4. Simplify. I ended up with a 44 over 35. I cannot use a 44 over 35, so I need to come over here and do, how many times does 35 go into 44? Once. 35 minus 44, go borrowing. 14 minus 5 is 9, and 9/35. So then I need to add my 4, which is my whole number here, plus my 1 and 9/35 gives me 5 and 9/35. Okay? Is this making sense to you? This is how this goes. Had I ended up with something like this, I said I was going to show you the other way to simplify. So let's do simplification the other way. If I had 3/10 plus 2/10. Let's say that I have 3/10 plus 2/10. I already have common denominators. That's perfectly fine. Let me move this out of here. I already have common denominators, so I can move on to the next part, just adding the numerators. 3 plus 2 is 5/10. Now, this is this kind of simplification where I know there's a number I can take out of it. So I look at that and I go, can I take out a 2? Are both of them even? One is, the other one isn't. Can I take out a 5? I have endings in a 5 and a 0, so yes, I can certainly take out a 5. So let's take a 5 out of there. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 10 divided by 5 is 2. Then I look at that and I go, can I make that any smaller? I have a 1. If you ever end up with a 1, the answer to can I make it smaller is a no. You cannot make a 1 any smaller. 1 is the smallest you can go. Your options for this are 2, 3, and 5. 2 if it's even, 5 if it ends in 0 or 5, and 3, all numbers added together are divisible by 3. And yes, I realize that the rule for 3 is like the most complicated rule out there. Seriously. So, like some examples. 135. 1 plus 3 is 4, plus 5 is 9. Is 9 divisible by 3? Yes. So that means I can divide by 3. 27. 2 plus 7 is equal to 9. Is 9 divisible by 3? Yes. So I can divide by 3. 124. 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 4 is 7. Is 7 divisible by 3? No. So I cannot divide by 3. Okay? I cannot divide by 3 on that one. So that's how you know whether or not you can divide by 3. The only ones that I'm asking you to look for taking out for simplification are 2s, 3s, and 5s. Okay? Not asking you to look for any of the other ones. I'm just asking you to look for those. Okay. Hopefully that cleared things up a bit. There's 2 pages underneath. You can try your own hand at. Have a great day. Bye.